Okay, so AP exam is approaching soon, and I just wanted to give some of my advice on how to get a 5 on AP Human Geography, since I know this is a lot of people's first AP and they're not exactly sure how to approach the test. So, I did take AP Human last year and I got a 5, so you can be sure that this advice is actually trustworthy and will help you get a 5. And if you have any questions about like my experience with the test or how I personally studied, you can always leave a comment and I would be happy to help you out. So, first of all, vocab. I don't I don't think I can emphasize enough how much you need to know vocab, and if your teacher is any self-respecting teacher, they probably already also told you that you need to know the vocab. But if you're not convinced, here's why the vocab is literally essential. Like, please do not blow out studying the vocab. Okay, so why is vocab so important? Some of the MCQs are literally just vocab. Like, I cannot make this up. I remember on my test, I'm pretty sure the first question I opened up was a vocab question. I don't even remember what vocab word it was. I just remember thinking, oh my god, this is so easy. And it helped me kind of get into the flow. But imagine you open up your test, the first question is a vocab question, and you don't know that word. You're already kind of like, you're losing your confidence on the first question because you don't know that vocab word when it could have been an easy confidence boost and basically free points. So they're important for MCQs, but also FRQs. Vocab comes in like really, really handy on FRQs and also is just like a key part of most FRQs. So here's the FRQ from my exam that I took last year. So the 2025 exam. I think this is the East Coast exam. Not exactly sure because I don't live on one of the coasts, but obviously they have to give me one of the exams. Anyways, as you can see, there are already like a ton of vocab words just in the question. So like, here's a list of a few. You can read those if you want, but just like scanning over the question already, you can see there's a lot of big words and complicated concepts they're asking you about. And if you don't know the vocab, you're not going to understand the question, and it's going to be really difficult for you to get the credit if you don't even understand what they're asking you. Kind of going on with this, you can use your knowledge of vocab to flex your knowledge on FRQs. And this is the same FRQ again, but by incorporating vocab into your answer, you can prove to the grader that you understand this class and you understand how the various concepts connect to each other, because this class isn't just about memorizing, like, I'm pretty sure there's like probably at least like 200 vocab words. It's about understanding how these different vocab words and concepts actually tie into each other, and it's a really good way to assure yourself that you're going to gain points if you can help connect another vocab term into your answer. For example, for part A, you could say that independent states have sovereignty. This isn't exactly the best thing you could say because they do say sovereignty in part G, but it's still a valid answer and it's still true, so you should definitely say it. Well, if you had a question like this, pretty sure I put that on my exam. For part D, you could talk about how deindustrialization has led to the development of the new International Division of Labor and the expanding of the tertiary sector of the economy in core countries. Both of those are vocab terms, and if you can explain them really well, then that's going to really help solidify your answer. Like, do not just name drop a vocab term and then just like move on. Actually explain how it relates to your answer and how it proves your answer, because if you're just dropping a word in there, it doesn't necessarily show that you understand that concept or understand how it connects. And then finally, for part E, you could talk about the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and the Exclusive Economic Zone and how that could lead to disputes over resources. I'm not going to like fully explain the answers because you should already be studying the content anyways, but this is more about like how to game the test and what to focus on in terms of like the structure of the test rather than the course content. Next thing is examples. These are really, really important for FRQs. So bringing back the same thing, we need examples for FRQs. This is the same FRQ again. if you can provide an example in your answer, it again helps reiterate and like prove your answer. And if you use an example that they literally taught you and put in the course description, they cannot refute your answer because what they told you literally supports it. It's like I'm saying, it backs up what you're saying with evidence from the class, because like how are they gonna tell you you're wrong when they told you that? And then also, if you don't understand the question or an answer is not immediately coming to mind, try to think of examples to help you get your mind into the right space. For example, part B is asking about supranational organizations. And let's say like you know what a supranational organization is, but you're like, I don't know like what is a like really good specific purpose. You could think about like, okay, first of all, they have two supranational organizations listed in the kind of like preface to the question, but like the European Union, what does the EU do? They're all about free trade. So is USMCA. They're all about facilitating trade. So you could say maybe, okay, supranational organizations want economic, like, they want to promote economic relations between member countries to help boost, like, economic, oh, I just said economic like 5 times, but like, economic, yeah, sorry, I literally cannot think of words right now, but like, they want to help make countries more economically dependent and help their member states trade with each other. And yeah, I cannot formulate my answer right now, but you get what I'm trying to say. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Stimuli. This class has a lot of stimuli, and also if you're gonna take World or APUSH, they both also have a lot of stimuli, like even more. So learning these skills now will help you in those classes in the future. But let's go and see why stimuli is important. First of all, 2 of the 3 FRQs have stimuli, and a lot of the MCQ also have stimuli. So this is a different FRQ, obviously, because the first one that I was showing didn't have a stimulus. English is weird. Anyway, so for example, this is a population pyramid. This is like specifically covered in Unit 2 that you need to know how to read one of these. And literally the first question is just identify the recent fertility trends shown in the population pyramid. That's basically 3 points. If you understand what a population pyramid is, if you know how to read it, that's 3 points, because all you have to do is look at it and translate what the graph is showing into words. And so some of the things I pointed out was you need to be able to analyze the stimulus in order to effectively answer the question. Because if you don't know how to read a population pyramid and you don't really fully understand how it works, it's going to be hard for you to like answer questions based on it if you don't know what it's showing. And like I said, it's basically 3 points if you know what you're looking for and you know how to analyze it. So if you don't fully understand how to look at stimuli or how to read some of the specific things they want you to know for this class, make sure you do, because there's a good chance it might not show up on FRQ, but it will probably show up in some MCQ in some shape or form. There's like, they love to put like graphs or tables. So it's just like, also know how to read those, but those aren't like specifically tailored to this class. It's more just like, do you know how to read and interpret data? Okay. Finally, task verbs. I'm pretty sure most people already know the task verbs, especially if they've been practicing FRQs all year. But if you learned them in the beginning of the year and then you like never really practiced FRQs after that and you kind of forgot what to do, here's like a quick recap of them. Okay, first one is identify. With identify, all you need is one sentence. Just say the answer, and you don't need to explain or justify your answer, just say the answer. So identify could be like, identify an example of a supranational organization, or like, identify an example of a nation state. And you could say like, Japan is an example of a nation state, and that's all you need. That's like 5 words or something. I didn't count, but like, yeah, it's not that complex, and don't overcomplicate it and don't waste your time. Identifies are really easy. They're supposed to be like 3 points. Define is also pretty easy, but you might want to add a second sentence depending on how much you know about the topic. But basically all they're asking for is a specific and accurate definition. Just make sure whatever you're putting down there is true, but also make sure that you're saying enough so that it couldn't be like confused with a different term, or it's kind of vague and it doesn't really prove that you understand. All you have to do is define something, and it's usually just going to be like defining a vocab term. Okay, number 3 is describe. All you have to do is write 2 to 3 sentences about a specific thing. Like, I think the one that I was looking at earlier was like describe one characteristic of supernatural organizations, or like one purpose. So just 2 to 3 sentences, state key characteristics of this thing that you're describing. Or it could be like, describe the Hoyt sector model, or like describe something else. And then you just state characteristics that are like, especially like super relevant or like unique characteristics to this term. Make sure you include those to show that you understand how it's different from other things. Okay, number 4, explain. This is probably the most important one and probably the one that you'll see the most. And it's 3 to 4 sentences. Answer the question, and then you can either put your example first and then explain, or explain and then back it up with an example. This goes back to what I was talking about earlier with examples. But if you, in English class, you probably learned like ACE or T or some sort of acronym for writing like a short response. Basically just apply that here. And instead of like citing stuff or like getting evidence, you would just put in your example, because they don't really like, give you evidence. It has to come from your brain. And then finally, number 5 is compare. This one is usually pretty rare. I don't even remember if I had one. If I did, I probably only had 1 or 2. But basically, it's just 2 to 4 sentences, and make sure you include key differences and similarities between 2 concepts that they're asking you to compare. Like, compare like 2 supernatural organizations. Compare the UN and OPEC or something like that. And all you have to do is just talk about like, they both do this, but the UN is like obviously much bigger and includes like more diverse member states or something like that. Okay. So overall, that's all the main tips I have. Just in recap, vocab. If you don't know anything, if you don't want to focus on anything else, focus on vocab. If there's only one thing you're going to do to study for this test, it's vocab. Number 2, examples. This is important, and it kind of goes with vocab, because I think some of the like vocab terms are technically more like examples, but it helps you back up your answers and just level up your answers. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but examples are not required. Like, College Board is not going to refute your point, revoke your point, or like deny you a point because you didn't use an example. So don't like force yourself to put an example if you don't have an example. Just if you have a good example, use it, and if you don't, that's okay. Finally, stimuli. Actually use them and know how to interpret them so that you can get those free points and you're not stuck staring at something you don't know how to read. And then number 4, task verbs. Pretty sure most people already have these down, but just like make sure you actually know what the question is asking and know what you're expected to. And this is just like my little thing. Confidence. Don't second guess yourself. Just go with your gut. At the end of the day, this is just one exam, and stressing out over one multiple choice question is not going to help you. Same with like focusing too much on one part of an FRQ when you could have answered like 3 other parts in that time. Just mark it, just like guess something, just put something down, and move on to the questions that you know you can answer correctly, because overall, that's going to be what helps your score more at the end of the day. So, thanks everyone for watching. Good luck to you if you're taking AP Human this year, or any other AP exam for that matter. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm really trying to grow my channel to 300 subs, so I'd really appreciate it. And come back and let me know what you scored after the AP exam. If you have any questions or you want clarification on something, just leave a comment and I will probably reply, because I have no life. Anyways, thank you everyone, and credits to SlidesGo for this template.